welcome to another edition of Reading with Rockfish. Hey, I'm so happy to see you. Today we're going to be reading a book that we've already read. Guess what it is? Okay, here's my prop. All right, I'm wearing a little red riding hood. Well, a little red hoodie from my favorite place in the world, Cape Cod. Well, not my favorite place in the world, but one of my favorite places. And it's summertime, and I should be in Cape Cod soon, but coronavirus, got it. No traveling during coronavirus. So here we are making videos about Little Red Riding Hood. So glad you could join me. It's me, SL Rockfish, and we're going to go to France to read their version of Little Red Riding Hood. Now, a couple weeks ago, we read the German version from the Brothers Grimm, and they live up to their name. They are grim. In that version, remember, the wolf ate Grandma first, then he ate Little Red, then the woodsman came, cut open the wolf, got Grandma and Little Red out. How they weren't digested, cut up, or traumatized, we don't know. Then they put rocks in the wolf, sewed him up, and he ends up dying. I would think he probably died when they cut him open, but according to the Grimm brothers, that's how he dies. Now, in that book too, they weren't so grim. Mom sent a bottle of wine and some treats with Little Red for a long trip across the woods all by herself to go to Grandma's house. Now, in the French version by Charles Perrault, we're going to learn exactly the same characters, Grandma, Wolf, and Little Red. But what happens and what is different? Come on, I'll show you. Once upon a time, there lived in a certain village a little country girl, the prettiest creature ever seen. Of course she's pretty. She's Little Red. They never have a so-so person. She's the prettiest girl you've ever seen. Her mother was very fond of her, and her grandmother doted on her all the more. This good woman had made for her a little red riding hood. We're going to pretend this is the riding hood, which became her so well that everybody called her Little Red Riding Hood. That's how she got her name. One day her mother, having made some custard, said to her, "Go, my dear, and see how thy grandmamma does, for I hear she has been very ill. Carry her a custard and a little pot of butter." Now, pause here. This is before cell phones, instant messaging, and phone calls. She heard. She doesn't live by Grandma. Maybe somebody was passing through and said, "Hey, your mom's sick." And so Mom tells Little Red, "Whew, we should check it out." That's how it was back in the day. Little Red Riding Hood set out immediately to go to her grandmother, who lived in another village. Again, way back in the day, because she's going by herself to another village. All by herself. As she was going through the woods, she met the Gaffer Wolf, not the big bad wolf. In the French version, it's called a Gaffer Wolf, who had a very great mind to eat her up, but he durst not, because there were some people working in the forest. He asked her whither she was going. The poor child, who did not know that it was dangerous to stop and listen to a wolf, said to him, "I am going to see my grandmamma, and carry her a custard and a little pot of butter from my mamma." "Does she live far?" said the wolf. "Oh, yes," answered Little Red Riding Hood. "It is beyond that mill you see there at the first house in the village." Stop! Little Red is giving him directions right to the house. She should be called Little Naive Red. Don't talk to strangers. Remember that. "Well," said the wolf, "I'll go see her too. I'll go this way, you go that way, and we'll see who gets there first." What? Yeah. The wolf began to run as fast as he could. Well, of course he did. He's going to get Grandma. Taking the nearest way, and the little girl went by the longest, diverting herself in gathering nuts and running around chasing butterflies and making little bouquets of flowers as she went about her way. The wolf was not long before he got to the old woman's house. He knocked at the door. "Who's there?" "Your grandchild, Little Red Riding Hood," replied the wolf, imitating her voice. who has brought you a custard and a little pot of butter sent you by Mamma. The good grandmother, who was in bed because she was ill, cried out, Pull the bobbin, and the latch will go up. The wolf pulled the bobbin, and the door opened, and he fell upon the good woman and ate her up in a moment, for it was been above 3 days since he had eaten. He then shut the door and went into the grandmother's bed, expecting Little Red Riding Hood, who came sometime afterwards and knocked at the door. Tap, tap. Who's there? Little Red Riding Hood, hearing the big voice of the wolf, was at first afraid. Now she's getting smart. But believing her grandmother had got a cold and was hoarse, answered, What? Grandma's cold is so bad she sounds like a wolf? Come on. Okay. Little Red is very naive. 'Tis your grandchild, Little Red Riding Hood, who has brought you a custard and a little pot of butter from Mamma. The wolf cried out to her, softening his voice as much as he could. Pull the bobbin, and the latch will go up. Little Red pulled the bobbin, and the door opened. If I had dramatic music, this is where we'd go. Dun, 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 dun. The wolf, seeing her come in, said to her, hiding himself under the bedclothes. Okay, so imagine, this is a nightgown. So the wolf does this. Put the custard and the little pot of butter upon the stool, and come lie down with me. What? Little Red Riding Hood undressed herself and stood by the bed where, being greatly amazed to see how her grandmother looked in her bedclothes. Greatly amazed? How does Grandma look so much like a wolf, okay? And why would Grandma tell her to come over and get in bed? So, here where it says Little Red got undressed, she didn't take off all of her clothes. She just took off her Little Red Riding Hood, okay? So, she sees that Grandma doesn't quite look like Grandma, but she gets in bed anyway. She is not that wise. Grandmama, what great arms you've got. That is the better to hug you with, my dear. Grandmama, what great legs you've got. The better to run, my child. Now, stop here. Grandmama's legs and the wolf's legs cannot look that close together. I know it was back in the day, pre-shaving legs, but come on. Okay. Grandmama, what great ears you have. The better to hear you, my child. Grandmama, what great eyes you've got. The better to see you, my child. Grandmama, what great teeth you've got. To eat thee up. And saying these words, the wicked wolf fell upon Little Red Riding Hood and ate her all up. That's it. The end. I'm telling you, right there, it's the end. And ate her all up. No woodsman, no happy ending. Grandma eaten, the wolf eats Little Red, and how does Little Red not recognize there's something wrong, okay? Like, so many warnings. Grandmama, you look, I haven't seen you in a while, Grandmama, but my goodness, you've got hairy legs and big ears. What? Maybe way back people were very gullible. Or you just have to use your imagination. I don't know. I like to read these stories. I hope you enjoyed them. I like to compare and contrast. If you want to do it on your own, compare this story with the other Brothers Grimm, or find a different version. This one, not such a happy ending. The French, I thought, were more about love and good bread and stuff. Well, custard, yes. But that's the way it goes, and it's been passed down for, this book was published in 1924, so it's been a while. I hope you enjoyed the story. I hope you're going to take care of yourself. Remember, stay away from people. Don't go in crowds. If you got to go in crowds, wear a mask. Where's my mask? Pretend you're the wolf. pretend you're like, you can be anything you want, especially if you see your little red, okay? Mask up. Enjoy life, but be careful. And thank you so much for joining me. Hope to see you soon. Thank you, friends. Peace.